My name is Avery Cole. I'm 31 years old. And the day I bought my freedom, my family tried to move into it. A paper grocery bag slipped. A jar of marinara exploded across my new white tile like blood spatter. I froze in the doorway. Diane, my mother, was fluffing pillows I hadn't sat on yet. Serena had a measuring tape stretched wall to wall in my home office. "Guest room," she said. Brass flashed in her hand, a key that wasn't mine. My throat tasted like pennies, but my voice came out even. "How did you get in?" They thought I'd cave, like always. They didn't know I'd been keeping receipts. Before I continue, tell me where you're watching from, and hit like and subscribe if you've ever been betrayed by family. Because what happened next still feels like something out of a twisted home movie, one where the people smiling at you are the ones holding the knife behind their backs. I didn't always see the pattern. Back then, it just felt like love had rules I hadn't learned yet. The first time I realized I was optional, Serena turned 5. Mom rented a clown, a bounce house, even a cotton candy machine that painted the backyard in pink clouds. I remember standing in line with the other kids, holding a paper cone while Dad filmed Serena squealing with blue sugar on her cheeks. He panned right past me. The lens caught the edge of my shoulder, then moved on. A week later, on my 7th birthday, Mom brought home a store cake with the wrong name, Aubrey. She laughed it off. "Close enough," she said, already slicing it before I'd blown out the candles. I swallowed it, but it carved deeper than I thought. School became the place where I tried to earn what home never gave. I collected gold stars like proof of existence. When I won the district science fair, Mom didn't come. Serena had dance rehearsal. "You know she needs more attention right now," Dad said, handing me $20 like it could replace applause. I used it to buy lab notebooks and a slice of pizza at the gas station. The grease spot bled through the page where I'd written, "Be someone they can't ignore." College should have been my clean start, but even then, the scales tilted. When my scholarship came through, Mom smiled in relief, not pride. "That's wonderful," she said. "Now we can save the education fund for Serena." I didn't understand. Grandma had started that account for both of us. I remember asking once, "Half for me, half for her, right?" Mom's hand tightened on the steering wheel. "Don't be ungrateful, Avery. You got a free ride. Serena might not." The conversation ended there. Filed away under, "Don't ask again." During college breaks, I lived in the basement. Mom called it helping with expenses when she asked me to pay rent. The space smelled of detergent and damp cement. Pipes clanked overhead like a heartbeat I didn't control. Upstairs, Serena's laughter floated down with the smell of buttered popcorn from the new flat-screen TV Dad had surprised her with. I studied under the flicker of a cheap lamp and told myself it was temporary, that the noise above wasn't favoritism, just life. But favoritism has a sound, you start to recognize it. It's the soft click of a lock you don't have the key to. After graduation, my first paycheck felt like oxygen. I sent part of it home to help out. A week later, Serena posted vacation photos, Cancun, poolside margaritas. Her caption read, "Family support makes dreams possible." I stared at it until my screen dimmed. That night, I wrapped my grandmother's old watch around my wrist. The second hand ticked steady and cold, like it was reminding me, "Know your line." Years blurred into promotions, apartment leases, and Sunday dinners where Serena's problems filled every minute. Her latest business idea, her husband Brent's startup setbacks, the kids' school fundraisers, my updates, code releases, deadlines met landed like paper airplanes in a hurricane. Once, Dad said, "You're lucky you don't have real responsibilities." I laughed because the alternative was crying. I didn't know it then, but that sentence would echo years later, when I finally bought my cottage and they decided it wasn't fair for me to have space wasted on one person. The turning point came 2 winters ago, at Thanksgiving. The dining room smelled like burnt gravy and cinnamon candles. Serena announced she was pregnant again. Cheers, hugs, clinking glasses. I congratulated her and started clearing dishes. As always, when Mom handed out envelopes labeled for the new baby, she gave one to Serena, then one to Brent. I waited. Mine never came. "You don't need help right now," Mom said lightly, scraping cranberry sauce into the trash. The red streak on porcelain looked too much like blood. That night, I scrolled real estate listings until 2 a.m. I didn't know what I was searching for, only that it had walls. My walls. The next spring, I found it, a small white cottage at the edge of Lakeside. 2 oaks out front, blue shutters faded by sun. When I first stepped inside, dust motes floated like slow confetti. The silence was clean, not empty. "It feels like yours," said Kendra, the realtor. I nodded, though a voice in my head whispered, "Don't tell them yet." I didn't. Not until the inspection cleared. Not until the key was in my palm. When I finally showed Mom and Serena photos, they called the kitchen cute. Dad grunted something about plumbing. Serena laughed. 3 bedrooms? Guess the kids can visit all the time. She said it like a promise. Or a threat. I should have known then. 2 weeks later, Mom dropped by to see the space while I was still unpacking. She asked to use the bathroom. 5 minutes. Harmless. She left her purse behind, went down the hall. I didn't think twice until much later, when she appeared at my new doorstep with that copied key. I can still smell that day: fresh paint, lemon cleaner, the faint burn of tomato sauce that burst across the floor. They'd been planning this long before the marinara ever hit the tile. The older I got, the more invisible I became in my own family. They didn't mean to erase me, at least. That's what I told myself. It's easier to think you're overlooked than unloved. When I landed my second job, Mom bragged to her church friends about how Serena's sister worked in computers or something. She always framed my success as an accessory to Serena's story, like I existed to give her contrast. "Avery's so practical," she'd say, smiling at me across potluck tables. "God made one dreamer and one helper." Helper? The word stung like vinegar on a cut. Most Sunday nights, I drove home with my leftovers stacked in foil. Dad would call out, "Text when you get there." But he never asked if I wanted company. Mom would wave from the porch, still talking to Serena on the phone. Once, I parked a block away and just watched the house glow from inside, like a snow globe I wasn't part of. Every family photo told the same story. Serena front and center, glowing. Brent with one of the kids on his shoulders. Mom and Dad flanking them like guards. Me? Always half-turned, always holding the camera, or cropped out by accident. It became a running joke. "You're our ghost," Serena teased. "You appear when we need you." When Grandma died, I handled the paperwork because no one else wanted to. I remember sitting at the kitchen table with stacks of envelopes, her handwriting looping across them. There was an account labeled Education Fund. Avery and Serena. 2 names. I almost brought it up to Mom, but grief made her brittle, and Dad was drunk on nostalgia. "You girls were her joy," he said, wiping his eyes. "She believed in family above all." I didn't know that account had already been emptied years earlier. Not until Jordan, my college friend turned lawyer, found traces of it later, while helping me review my mortgage. Back then, I just sealed the envelopes, trusting that what Mom said about handling the details was true. If there's a single sound that defines my childhood, it's Mom's voice through closed doors. Soft, persuasive, always using guilt as a lullaby. "You know Serena's not as strong as you, honey. She needs extra help. You're lucky you don't have kids to worry about. Family looks out for each other." Every line a thread, weaving a net I didn't see until it tightened. By my late 20s, I'd turned emotional avoidance into a skill set. I stayed busy coding, mentoring interns, running at dawn, anything that kept me from silence. Still, some nights I'd wake at 2 a.m., heart racing, convinced I'd forgotten something vital. It wasn't a deadline. It was myself. Then came the phone call that cracked the illusion. "Mom, Serena's business is struggling. Brent's hours got cut. The kids are sharing a room, poor things. You have a stable job. Maybe you can help." Me? How? "Mom, they could stay with you for a bit. You've got all that space." I said no. Quietly. Simply. The way you might close a window during rain. The silence that followed was heavier than thunder. After that, the messages came in waves. Texts from Dad about helping family. Photos of the kids looking sad on their couch. Tagged posts about family first. Even the church newsletter mentioned the generosity we owe our loved ones. It felt coordinated. A campaign. When I bought the cottage, I didn't tell them the closing date. But Serena somehow knew. She posted, "Can't wait to see the kids running in Aunt Avery's yard." I laughed it off, sent a thumbs up emoji, but unease coiled under my ribs. I remember the day of the walkthrough vividly. Sunlight slanting through the bay window, dust floating like tiny universes. Kendra, the realtor, handed me the keys and said, "This is your reset button." The metal was warm from her palm. I didn't know that same warmth would soon feel like contamination. The next few weeks were quiet, almost too quiet. Then Mom showed up with coffee and compliments. She said she was proud. I wanted to believe her. When she asked to use the bathroom, I didn't notice her purse on the counter or the small pause before she left. 2 days later, a duplicate key appeared in Serena's Instagram story hanging from a pink heart keychain. Caption: new chapter loading. I stared at it until my vision blurred. Maybe it wasn't my key, I told myself. Maybe I was paranoid. Denial is a slow poison. I threw myself into work, pulling late nights on code deployments, letting exhaustion blur the edges of suspicion. Then one Friday evening, I came home early. The paper bag tore, the marinara shattered, and everything I'd refused to see came into focus. Serena's measuring tape, Mom's calm rearranging, the key glinting between her fingers. That moment, the smell of tomatoes and bleach, the sticky pull of sauce under my shoes became the dividing line of my life. Before and after. Before, I believed boundaries were negotiable. After, I learned their survival. Even now, I can replay the tiny details in perfect clarity. The sun hitting the kitchen window just so, the reflection of my mother's face in the oven door, expression smooth as glass. "You can't live here alone," she'd said. "It's not right." I remember my voice. Cold and unfamiliar. "It's mine." Her eyes had flickered, then not fear, not shame, but calculation. As if I'd just complicated a plan she'd already set in motion. Later that night, as I scrubbed marinara from the grout, my phone buzzed with a text from Dad. "What the hell are you doing?" He accused me of tearing the family apart. Serena chimed in with crying emojis and messages about the kids being homeless. I didn't reply. Instead, I opened my laptop, created a new folder, and labeled it Documentation. Inside went screenshots, timestamps, receipts, evidence, not emotion. I didn't know it yet, but that simple act, naming the truth, was the start of everything that came next. I thought standing up to them would be the hard part. I hadn't realized the storm they'd summon once they realized I wouldn't cave. The Monday after the marinara incident, I woke to silence that didn't feel peaceful, it felt loaded. I checked my phone and saw a notification. "Serena Maddox tagged you in a post." My stomach dropped before I even opened it. It was a slideshow, her 3 kids beaming, sitting on a couch surrounded by moving boxes. The caption read, "So grateful. The kids finally have rooms of their own. Family means never leaving anyone behind. Number blessed. Number family first. Number family first." The timestamp was from 3 weeks earlier, before I'd even closed on my house. My throat went dry. I scrolled to the comments. "Which room's Norris?" one friend asked. Serena replied, "The blue one with the bay window. Caleb and Finn will share the one across the hall." Another comment, "That's so generous of your sister." Serena's reply, "She's always been the responsible one." Responsible? I could almost hear her saying it, a sweetness that cut like glass. The post had hundreds of likes. Each one felt like a nail sealing me into someone else's narrative. I didn't comment. Instead, I took screenshots, then locked my phone and sat in my quiet kitchen. My coffee had gone cold, my pulse loud in my ears. That night, a group text lit up our family chat. Dad, Mom, Serena, and me. Serena had sent a photo of her kids' packed bags with the caption, "Countdown to move in," followed by heart emojis. I typed, "You're not moving into my house," then deleted it. My hands shook. A minute later, a new message appeared, clearly meant for someone else. "Brent, just move in. She always caves." I stared at the screen. Then slowly, I took another screenshot. The next evening, Mom called. Her tone was syrupy. "Honey, we were thinking, since your cottage has 3 bedrooms, maybe we can help make it more practical for everyone. You can use the office at work for your remote days, right?" I said nothing. "Family helps family," she pressed on. "Serena's children need stability. You're alone. You have space." "Mom," I said, "no one is moving in." The pause was sharp, like she'd bitten her tongue. Then came the shift. "You've changed. Since you bought that house. You've become selfish." Selfish. Another word they'd weaponized so long it had lost its shape. 3 days later, an envelope arrived from my bank. The letterhead was crisp, the language formal. "We've detected a pre-approval inquiry for a new mortgage application under your Social Security number." I called immediately. The representative confirmed the details, name Avery Cole. Co-applicants Diane and Serena Maddox. My mouth went dry. I didn't authorize that. I'll flag it for fraud alert, the rep said. Would you like us to lock your file? Yes, I whispered. That night, I called Jordan, my old college friend turned lawyer. They used my SSN, I said. He exhaled softly. Avery, that's not just pushy family stuff. That's identity theft. I laughed brittle. Tell that to my mother. She thinks she's doing what's right. He was quiet for a moment. Then it's time you stop thinking like a daughter and start thinking like a client. I didn't sleep much that week. Every sound in the house felt amplified: the refrigerator hum, the wind against the shutters, the faint echo of my own heartbeat. I started a spreadsheet labeled incidents, dates, times, evidence. My way of staying sane. Then came the complaint letter from the HOA. We've received reports of commercial activity taking place at your residence. Commercial activity. I stared at the words. I worked remotely. I wasn't running a business. Someone had filed that complaint deliberately. I attached pay stubs, explained my role, sent it back with a trembling smiley in the email signature. But I knew exactly who had done it. When I told Dr. Chang, my therapist, she said, document, don't engage. So I did. I documented the phone calls, the Facebook post, the group texts, the fraud alert, the HOA complaint. Each entry in that spreadsheet steadied me, even as my pulse thudded with anger. One evening, as I left work, I saw my mother's car parked across the street. Engine running, windows fogged. I didn't approach. I just walked past, pretending not to notice. My hands were shaking so hard I dropped my keys before I even reached my car. That night, I installed motion-sensing lights and ordered a video doorbell. I told myself I was being cautious. But deep down, I knew I was preparing for war. The following Sunday, just as I started to believe the storm had passed, the doorbell rang. The video feed blinked on my phone. Deacon Harold Whitman, our church's moral compass, standing on my porch with his Bible pressed to his chest. Morning, Avery. He called through the door. Your family's worried. They said you've been under stress. The camera mic picked up my voice, calm but sharp. I didn't request a visit, Deacon. His sigh fogged the lens. Family's the foundation of faith. You can't close your heart to them forever. I wanted to laugh. Instead, I said, faith isn't a key to my front door, and ended the feed. That same afternoon, Serena posted a photo of her kids lying on a pull-out sofa, faces arranged into perfect sorrow. The caption read, when your own sister turns her back on family, God still provides. The comments were a flood of sympathy. Praying for your sister's heart. She'll come around. Family above pride. I scrolled until the screen blurred. Then I closed the app and opened my spreadsheet instead. New entry. Public defamation campaign begins. By Tuesday, Jordan had drafted a cease and desist letter. He told me, it's not dramatic, it's documentation. That phrase became my anchor. Still, the hits kept coming. Wednesday morning, my receptionist buzzed. Avery? There's a man and woman in the lobby, say it's urgent. Family emergency. My stomach dropped. I stepped into the hallway and saw them, Mom and Dad, standing under the sterile office lights. Mom's mascara was smudged, Dad's jaw tight. Your sister's been in an accident, Mom said loudly, so the entire lobby could hear. My phone vibrated in my hand, a text from Serena, timestamped 2 minutes earlier. Can you believe school lunches cost this much? I looked back at Mom. She's fine. The receptionist froze. Colleagues peeked over cubicles. Dad tried to recover. We just wanted to talk. About fraud? I said quietly. Or trespassing. The color drained from his face. Priya, my manager, appeared beside me like a guardian. If you're not on company business, she said, I'll have to ask you to leave. Security escorted them out. I stood there, shaking but upright. Omar, our QA guy, silently lifted his phone and showed me the photo he'd taken. Mom's face mid-shock, Dad mid-yell. Proof. That night, I poured myself a glass of wine and deleted the old family group chat. The silence afterward wasn't peaceful, it was electric. The next blow came fast. Serena started a GoFundMe campaign titled Help My Kids Have a Home. The featured photo was me on my cottage porch, cropped and repurposed as the villain. The fundraiser description claimed I'd withdrawn financial support and left 3 children displaced. It raised nearly $800 in 2 days. Jordan filed a DMCA takedown. The campaign vanished overnight, but the damage was done. Screenshots spread faster than apologies. That weekend, I got a call from Aunt Ruth. "You okay, kid?" she asked. "Your mother's been telling people you had a breakdown." I laughed too hard, too loud. "If that's true, I'm the calmest breakdown in town." She hesitated. "You know Mason's a locksmith now. Your mom asked him about rekeying your cottage. He didn't do it, but you should know." A chill crawled up my spine. "Thank you for telling me." The next morning, Mason texted. I told her no. "If you need a witness later, I've got your back." I stared at the screen, tears blurring the words. Not all family ties were poison. By now, my house had become a fortress: cameras, alarms, motion lights. I could almost hear my grandmother's voice in the ticking of her old watch. "Know your line." One night, I was brushing my teeth when the doorbell alert flashed on my phone. The feed showed Serena on my porch, holding a casserole dish. Her voice, faint through the speaker. "Just talk to me. Avenue, please. The kids miss you." Behind her, Brent lingered near the driveway, eyes darting. My heart pounded, but my hands stayed steady. I pressed the intercom. "Leave the food. Leave the property." Serena's face twisted. "You're really doing this? To your own blood?" I didn't answer. She set the dish down, hard enough that the lid cracked. "Mom's right. You've changed." The car door slammed. Tail lights vanished into the dark. I stood there, toothbrush still in hand, staring at the feed until it went black. Later that night, a notification pinged Ring camera footage. Someone had come back. I watched in disbelief as Mom tried 3 different keys in my lock, glancing over her shoulder after each failed attempt. She finally left. But I didn't sleep. I called Jordan first thing in the morning. "It's time," I said. He knew what I meant. By that evening, the cease and desist letters were printed, notarized, and ready for delivery. Dr. Chang called our next session the turning point. "You've stopped reacting," she said. "Now you're responding." I didn't feel strong. I felt numb, but underneath that numbness was something solid, something almost like peace. The first envelope I handed Mom trembled in my fingers. She looked at it like it was a betrayal, her lips trembling. "You'll regret this," she whispered. Maybe I would, but at least the regret would be mine. The so-called family meeting took place on a gray Saturday afternoon in October, the kind of day that felt too ordinary for disaster. I parked in front of my parents' house and just sat there for a moment, hands tight on the wheel, watching yellow leaves spin in the wind. Inside, their living room curtains twitched. They were waiting. The house smelled the same as always: lemon pledge, pot roast, a trace of my father's motor oil drifting from the garage. It was comforting and poisonous at the same time. Everyone was already assembled. Mom and Dad on the couch. Serena beside them in a pale blue blouse that screamed innocence. Brent, hovering near the door, pretending to check his phone. Aunt Ruth sat on the recliner, arms folded. Mason leaned against the wall, expression unreadable. A platter of deviled eggs sat sweating on the coffee table, untouched. "Finally," Mom said, rising with a practiced smile. "We've been waiting to talk this out like adults." I glanced around the room. Every seat had been positioned facing me, like an intervention. Dad gestured toward the coffee table. "Let's keep this civil. We just want to find a solution that works for everyone." I placed my leather folder on the table and stayed standing. "Funny. That's exactly what I came to do." Mom exchanged a quick look with Serena before launching into her script. "We know you've been under stress, Avery. Buying a house is a big step, and family should help ease the burden, not add to it. So we found a compromise." She slid a manila folder toward me. Inside were 5 real estate listings for large suburban homes, each one neatly annotated. "Perfect for the kids. Great school district. Shared mortgage makes sense. Your bank is willing to transfer your current loan," Mom continued. "And if we pool resources." "You already talked to my bank," I interrupted. "Without my consent." Dad's voice went gruff. "It was just preliminary. No harm done." I opened my folder slowly. Actually, there was. The room quieted. I could hear the wall clock ticking, Grandma's old clock. The same one Mom used to time our chores. "I have an email from the bank's fraud department," I said. "They confirmed a pre-approval request under my social security number, filed by Diane and Serena Maddox." Brent's head snapped toward Serena. "You said—" "Shut up," she hissed. Mom's smile faltered but didn't fall. That's a misunderstanding. They must have mixed up paperwork. I pulled a printed screenshot from the folder and laid it on the table. They didn't. Here's the digital signature. Aunt Ruth leaned forward. Diane, is this true? Mom didn't answer. Her eyes flicked to Dad, then back to me. You're overreacting, honey. We were just trying to help your sister's family find stability. I placed the next document on the table, a photocopy of Grandma's will and the education fund records. Help, like when you drained the college fund Grandma left for both of us and gave it all to Serena? Because I didn't need it? The silence was immediate, thick as wet wool. Serena's voice came out high and defensive. That was decades ago. You got scholarships. And you got a condo and tuition paid in full, I said. The account was joint. Grandma's handwriting, see? Aunt Ruth snatched the page, reading fast. This fund was for both girls, she said slowly. You told me it went to medical bills, Diane. Mom's face flushed a deep, frightening red. That's ancient history. I ignored her and clicked play on my phone. Dad's voice filled the room, recorded from a voicemail he'd left weeks earlier. You ungrateful little, do you know what you've done? We had it all planned out. We were going to move in whether you liked it or not. The recording ended with a click. Dad lunged up. You had no right. I have every right, I cut in. That message is evidence of intent to trespass. It's been logged with my lawyer. Mason cleared his throat. And I've got something to add. All eyes turned to him. Aunt Diane asked me to rekey Avery's locks, he said quietly. Said she'd lost her copy. I didn't do it, but I kept the voicemail. Just in case. Aunt Ruth turned, eyes wide. You what? Mom sank back into the couch. Her voice cracked for the first time. I was trying to keep the family together. You all make it sound criminal. It is criminal. Aunt Ruth snapped. Serena slammed her hand on the table. You're all taking her side now? After everything she's done to this family? What have I done? I asked. Except stop being your doormat? No one answered. I stepped closer to the table. The folder's still open. Evidence spread like playing cards in a game I never agreed to play. Every single thing I'm showing you is dated, verified, and documented. The bank fraud, the HOA complaint, the GoFundMe using my image, the multiple trespass attempts recorded on my door camera. Dad's voice dropped. Weary now. You're turning this into a circus. No, I said. You already did that. I'm just bringing the lights. For a long moment, no one spoke. Outside, wind rattled the blinds. The tick of Grandma's clock counted out the seconds until something inside me, years of small humiliations, swallowed apologies, unspoken fury, finally settled. I took a slow breath and looked at Mom. I'm done negotiating. The house you wanted? It's already sold. The buyer closes next month. Serena blinked. You sold it? Yes, I said, to someone who knows how to respect property lines. Mom's lips parted, confusion flickering into panic. Where will you live? Far away enough, I said, gathering the papers. Somewhere. No one has a spare key. Aunt Ruth rose to her feet. Good for you, kid. Mom stood too, trembling now, rage bubbling under her skin. After everything we sacrificed for you. I met her eyes, steady. You sacrificed me for Serena, every single time. Consider the balance paid. I slipped the folder into my bag. My hands were steady, my heart not. As I reached the doorway, Dad called after me. Avery, you walk out now. Don't bother coming back. I paused. The old me would have turned around, apologized, begged to keep the peace. Instead, I looked over my shoulder. Then don't leave the porch light on. Outside, the sky had turned the color of pewter. Leaves skittered across the driveway as I walked to my car. Behind me, the door slammed. A sharp punctuation mark on 31 years of obedience. I sat behind the wheel, hands trembling but free. For the first time in my life, silence didn't scare me. It felt earned. For 3 days after the confrontation, the phone stayed silent. No calls, no messages, no sudden knocks on the door. It was unnerving. That kind of quiet, the silence of people regrouping. I used it to move. Boxes filled the living room, each one labeled with the same word in black marker, mine. Jordan stopped by that Thursday with a stack of envelopes. Cease and desist letters, officially filed, he said, setting them on my kitchen counter. And I'm drafting a restraining order in case they cross the line again. I nodded, the weight of it sinking in. They'll say I've betrayed them. They'll say anything, he replied. You don't have to listen. That night, I sat on the floor with my laptop open and a glass of wine half gone. I created a new folder on my desktop titled Phase 2. Inside it, I dropped digital copies of everything, screenshots, timestamps, legal forms, video clips. Then, one final document, the signed sale agreement for my cottage. The buyer's name was confidential by design, hidden behind a trust. They'd never see it coming. When I visited the escrow office the next morning, the receptionist slid the papers across the counter. Congratulations, Miss Cole. The sale will close within 30 days. I signed. Initial steady. Hand firm. It wasn't escape. It was strategy. That evening, I called Kendra, my realtor. From the porch. I need you to find me a new place, I said. Something quiet. Santa Fe area. Small, but secure. She laughed softly. New Mexico suits you. Dry air, big sky, nobody asking for your house keys. I smiled. For the first time in weeks. Exactly. After hanging up, I stood under the porch light, the same one that had captured so many trespass attempts, and felt the chill October air wrap around me. For once, the shadows belonged to me. Inside, I placed Grandma's watch on the table beside my open laptop. The second hand ticked steady, a metronome for resolve. They thought I'd caved, that I'd broken under guilt and family pressure. What they didn't know was that I'd already turned every wound they gave me into a weapon, one made of proof, silence, and patience. They thought they had ended me, but they just handed me the one thing I'd never had before. Leverage. If you've ever felt like the outsider in your own family, you already know silence can be louder than shouting, and distance can be the kindest kind of love. So, tell me where you're watching from, and hit like or subscribe if you've ever had to choose peace over permission. Because this story isn't over. Families like mine don't fade quietly. They regroup, they rewrite, they plot their next move. And when they do, I'll be ready with my evidence, my boundaries, and the life they said I didn't deserve. Stay tuned. The reckoning's just getting started.